In today's episode, I'll be giving my tier list for Survivor 48. As you see, we have all 18 castaways in front of me. I'm going to tier them on how much I like them, how I thought they developed throughout the season. So let's dive right into this season, Survivor Season 48 tier list. Do something, man. People are questioning you. Shut up. Shut up. Okay, yep, do that. Sure, guys. Stupid and dumb. Just an idiot. Get your shit together, son. Fuck it. I loved it. Welcome to the Dub Cast. So if you're unfamiliar with the tier list, we have the S tier, we have the A tier, we have the B tier, the C tier, and the D tier. S tier is the best, A is pretty good, B is like average, C is below average, and D is for the worst people on the season. Looking at this cast overall, I think we're gonna have some pretty strong tiers here. I don't know. I'm not seeing someone I necessarily hate, but I guess we'll dive right into it when we get into it. I feel like I've kind of split everyone up equally usually, but I may actually be more positive on this cast just from a personal, because it's hard to, the season wasn't the best season, but it's hard to blame that necessarily on one or two people, and especially those people who people say made the season boring, where, some of the people who made it to the end, the people who got to see more of their character, had more emotional moments. So that being said, let's dive right into this tier list. Starting it out, we have Bianca. I believe these are all organized in alphabetical order by their first name. So Bianca, I really liked Bianca. Honestly, I'm giving her A tier. Bianca wasn't in the show for the first like 3 or 4 episodes, but by the time of her boot episode, I was like, Bianca's my favorite. I'm rooting for her. And then she goes home, but I don't know. She felt like a pretty likable personality. I really wanted her to survive that tribal on the swapped Orange tribe. Just made the fatal mistake of telling Cedric that um, you know, she didn't have a vote. And, I thought Bianca and Thomas's dynamic together was really funny. I thought we could have seen more of her on that Purple Tribe. I feel like that Purple Tribe had the most characters in the game easily, the most interesting personalities. So I like Bianca a lot. She goes on the A tier. Cedric, um, I like Cedric. I'm gonna put him B tier. He's fine, right? Like his the beginning of the season, you can't tell that story without Cedric. I do find it interesting how they don't really show us Cedric to start the season off. Not like a lot of personal content. It was kind of obvious that he was always going to be one of the first people voted out at the merge and not really make it that far. But he's got a good personality. Like watching him stress out over who to vote for between Justin and Say. Every vote is a crazy plan. I mean, I guess the only vote he was really locked in for was the Stephanie vote. After that, they're swapping and going after Kevin. Then he votes Say 3 times, then just votes um, Justin out. Like that was crazy. And then what was the other one? The Bianca vote. Him and Chrissy flipped that on Bianca, and then he's the only one who ends up voting for Joe in the jury. He was serving. I liked seeing his jury. Although this is outside of the game, I did like seeing his ex post about being in the jury. I thought that was funny. I feel like Cedric's the typical, dad that we get on the season. I liked him enough, but he wasn't like a super likable president, so I'm leaving him in the B tier. Charity. I don't know. I'm gonna give Charity C tier. I'm sorry, Charity. I just feel like on the show, we're kind of painted to think one way of you. So that definitely is influencing my opinion here. But just felt like she was kind of, like not. I feel like she was pretty self-confident. That came across. Felt like most of her edit was just her being kind of out of the loop and like thinking one thing's gonna happen and another thing does happen. I wasn't the biggest Charity stan. I know there's people out there who love Charity, but for me, she was just kind of man. I didn't really, if I had to pick, she's probably in my bottom couple of characters on this list, to be honest. Notice how I'm saying characters. I know it's an edited TV show, so sure these are all beautiful people. All 18 of them made Survivor, but nonetheless, here we are. So Charity, C tier. I'm sorry. Chrissy. Chrissy provided nothing for the first until the merge, and then that one episode when she's going back and forth with Joe is a W. She was still serving, at the final tribal council. She's like to Jeff or to Joe and Eva. She's like, "So when are you guys?" She gets the episode title for the last episode of the season. So for those 2 moments alone, I got to put her at the bottom of A tier. Just, Chrissy reminds me of someone that I know, one of my friend's moms in my life. So that was nice to see her on the screen represented like that. But I don't know. She was a great character, I thought, for what it was. I feel like maybe A tier is a little bit too high, but fuck it. It's my list. I do what I want. So I like Chrissy. Never gonna see her back on Survivor, but it was a fun ride. But we had it, especially there's not a lot of super fans in this cast, so her being the one who like I think she was like I hate nerdy super fans, and then she's like pushing to get Joe or Eva. I thought that was hilarious. So I'm gonna put Chrissy bottom of A tier. Next up, David. David's a hard one to rank, man. A lot of people have been saying, let's go back to old school. We need to do recruiting again. We're not going to do people who apply. And David brought all that stuff. He wants to play by honor and integrity. He didn't watch any, he clearly only watched season 45 and 46. That being said, though, I wasn't a big fan of David. I thought he was corny at times. Although he does have iconic moments like the knock knock joke and the standing up at tribal council. He got flamed online for both those. I think both those moments are hilarious. It's a hard one to assess with David. The milk stuff is kind of cringy. The way he played the game was a little bit cringy. So I'm gonna put him a B tier above Cedric. Uh, yeah, I don't know. I wish I could put him higher, but wasn't the greatest personality. I mean, he was a pretty good personality. He was fun on the season. So I mean, I feel like that's a good spot for him, top of B tier. Next is Eva. I like Eva. She's goes to school in the state I live in, Rhode Island. So there's a connection there. She was on my fantasy team, so there's another connection there. Um, I will say some of the content she has throughout the season is pretty cringy. Like finale night, she's like, "I need to eat." Or, "Girl, you're on every reward." Some of the stuff like her strategy they decided to show is pretty cringy. Like, I'm just gonna stick with my group and we're gonna go with it. Like, I know after listening to Exit Press, she was maybe the brains behind the operation, but I felt like I'm not sitting every week watching Survivor being like, "What's Eva gonna do?" And I guess you can't really say that about Chrissy or Bianca, but I don't know. Eva, I think I'm gonna put bottom of B tier, a pretty fair spot for her. Obviously, no, I'm gonna put her above Cedric because she had more impactful moments. Like the moment of her and Joe is gonna be all-time Survivor. That's gonna be the one moment everyone remembers from this season. Her obviously getting through the fire making stuff the other night too. She does have strong moments, so she did a good job representing the people with autism. I know there was something about representation. She wanted it to be even more represented. So I thought she did a good job. She was a fine character in the season. I appreciated what she put out there. She gets middle of B tier. Her friend Joe. I think Joe's got to be S, right? Like, no, not S. Just personal favorites. I'll put him A tier. I was I was a fan of Joe. It's hard not to be a fan of Joe. I feel like this whole season was kind of painting him for us to be fans of him, and I wouldn't be surprised if in a couple days we find out he may be playing another season. Joe had a great story. He wants to represent for his kids. He would sacrifice his game for Eva, and then the stuff with his sister that was revealed later on. This felt like this was Joe's season. Even though Kyle did end up winning, this felt like this was mostly Joe's story. So it's hard to fall and say I didn't like Joe at all. I thought he was great on the season, pretty chill, pretty laid back, besides when his name gets brought up. I feel like Joe is just a great guy. So, not one of my favorite ever characters, but he was good enough in this season. So I'm putting him at the bottom of A tier. Next, we have Justin, another one I have a connection to because he's from Boston and, I'm right around the corner, Rhode Island. That being said, though, I know the edit didn't do him justice. I'm gonna have to put Justin top of C tier. I have to be mean to some people because we can't just have put everyone in the A or B tier or C or S tier. I feel like of all the people on this list, Justin's potentially the most boring person, at least from what the show showed. I'm sure he's a very interesting guy. I see his TikToks making pizza. That's outside the show stuff, though, even though I use that to justify Cedric's rankings. Nonetheless, I don't know. Justin, it's like I've wanted to root for him, but there just wasn't much there to root for on the show. So maybe another time he can come back and, get a better representation on the edit. Just seemed kind of aloof for most of the game. The big lie to Cedric about not having his vote, but it's not like he wasn't doing anything bad. He just wasn't like showing that much in the show. So I'm gonna put him top of C tier. Camilla, I liked Camilla a lot. I think I'm gonna have to change around the tiers because I don't know if anyone's gonna end up on S. I like Camilla a lot. She's very interesting. I feel like she played the most interesting game of everyone, where she was kind of at the end of this big alliance, but also made it through enough to be still in the game. She makes it to the final four. Her saying she's a liar, and I liked the aspect of her being this kind of not game bot, but like person who's more interested in the strategy, stuck with all these people who are stuck in the old school of thinking. Um, so I'm gonna make a change here because I gotta put Bianca in S tier. I think I'm gonna put Camilla in S tier as well, right below her. I like Camilla a lot. It was fun to see her play. Maybe another day we'll see her on a season with people who are actually like want to make strategic moves. I could see Camilla like if Camilla played season like 42 or 44, I could easily see her winning that season. But this was just a bad season for her, and maybe a new Camilla can come back and win it for everyone. And her, not to mention her and Kyle's dynamic throughout the season is awesome, having like a secret alliance, which I did listen to Eva calling out Mitch today, saying because Mitch was like, I knew they were in a secret alliance, nobody knew, so that was a great moment on the exit press. I don't know why I'm still going on the exit press, but Camilla, I like Camilla a lot, so she gets S tier. I was rooting for her to win. If she won the season, I think that'd be the best outcome. If Kyle was cool, but if Camilla won, I think the fans would have been a lot happier. I would have been a lot happier. Camilla had one of the best personalities in the season. She gets S tier. Next, we have Kevin. Kevin to me seemed kind of game body-ish. He has the moments in the premiere of him dislocating his shoulder. Um, Winning the challenge over Kyle with a broken shoulder. Him and Kyle make amends, and then feels like he's just playing too hard after that. So none of those moments were like, I think that could just happen to anybody. It's not. I'm gonna prop him up for that. Kevin, he was there. The dive is iconic. We'll talk about somebody and a couple people who also has an iconic offline video, but that doesn't make you or make me like you as a person if you have a viral moment. Like I don't care about Missy because she's the one on the receiving end of that, final tribal council speech. Doesn't matter that much. Sorry, Kevin. Didn't dislike you, but I feel like I wasn't like these three people in the D in the C tier. I'm like, we're never gonna see them again. And I don't really like. These will probably be some of the last people I think about when I think about this season. So sorry, but that's the way it is. So Kevin, I'll put you both charity, middle of C tier. Next, we have the winner of the season, Kyle. To me, I don't want to be rude, but Kyle just screams out NPC at me. I know that's really harsh to say, and you can probably go to my podcast and just call me an NPC, and that's fair enough because I'm here sitting and doing it too. And the guy just won $1 million. He was fun, but it was like I liked watching him play and his game style, but I feel like when it came to just about him, he's one of the more boring winners of all time. I don't know if that's fair to say because it is an edited show. I keep saying that, but when I'm looking at these people on the tier list, it's like I liked Kyle, but I didn't like him any more than anybody else. I think I'm gonna go B tier with Kyle. Definitely above Cedric. I think I'm gonna put Eve above him. So middle of B tier for Kyle. He was a great guy. It just wasn't like wasn't at any point rooting hard for him. I do find it interesting that he won over Joe and Eva, but that's not like his personality. I thought Kyle was just a fine presence on the show overall as a winner. Next, we have Mary. Mary, I liked Mary a lot in the beginning of the season, and then as the merge hit, she kind of disappears and then joins like up with David. I thought that was pretty boring. Um, that being said, though, just for her pre-merge rivalry with Say, I'm gonna put her A tier. That was a W. Like them going back and forth, her running around the woods, her fake play to like try and trick Say that she had something when she didn't have something. I thought that was interesting, and just her whole, her and Stephanie in the first episode trying to find other people and her being able to survive that Vula tribe and then make it to the merge and do a couple things. I liked also her crashing out in the last episode she was in where she's um about to go home and she's like, fuck it, I'm gonna eat the coconut anyway, and then her voting for Eva, which has everyone pissed off. Guys, it doesn't matter who we vote for. It's each juror has their own decision. You guys weren't out there, so stop picking at people for voting for people. I respect her voting for Eva. So yeah, W Mary. I liked Mary a lot. Just felt like her edit kind of tapered off in the late post merge. Not her fault though. From what we did see of her, I did like Mary a lot. Next, we have Mitch. Mitch's story I thought was inspirational to start the season off. You have the moment of Jeff asking him if he wants him to finish or try and finish his words for him or let him do it. I thought that was interesting. And then his callback to Christy from season six. That being said, also his ability to just drain every shot in the immunity challenges and the team ones. That being said, though, every week we get it's time to make a move and then no move. That iconic video of him going like that, though. I mean, I think I'm put him at top. No, I like Justin more. I'm gonna put him here. Yeah, I just Mitch gets a lot of hate online. I think that's pretty unwarranted. It's an edited show, but I was sick of him. By the end of the season, I was sick of him trying to come after people or trying to say, let's make a move. And then he's like, I should have made a move. I thought that was funny, but he was kind of annoying in that late post merge slog. So no offense, Mitch, but you're going in the middle of C tier. Next, we have Say. I'm gonna have to put Say right above Mary, just so they can be right next to each other. I like Say in this show. I think, people like to hate these big personalities, and that's what brings people to the show. Like people didn't like Q last season. A year later, we're like, we fucking need Q out there. How about that, guys? Nonetheless, though, I do think Say was a little bit over the top, and she admits that. She'll be the first person to tell you that. But I thought that she brought an interesting presence to this show, and when she leaves the show, there's a change in tone. Like it's not these people aren't as interesting anymore, without Say there. It's every round Say was in. She brought intrigue to it, and she made the show pretty interesting. So I got to give Say bottom of A tier. Next, we have Xiaoheen. I wanted to like Xiaoheen all season. Some of the stuff he did was cringy, the chicken and waffle stuff, and then the music thing was cool the first time or two, but then after that, it was like, ugh, a little too much. So he's kind of in that Eva for me. Like he's probably below Eva. I feel like they're both pretty similar. Like I did like both of them, but then I think they stayed in it for too long for me to be like, all right, these people are a little bit cringy and just the way they're talking. And Shaheen was an interesting character on the season. Obviously, being a 46 alternate, his story is great. But that was more outside of the show stuff. Just on the show, I feel like he was kind of stuck in the mud for a while. You have him like digging through my man Thomas's bag, or not Thomas, Kyle's bag. I don't know why I said my man Kyle when I just crapped on him, but I don't know. I'm gonna have Shaheen right in the middle there. I just didn't seem like, he was giving that much on. He was giving a lot, but it was too much. I don't know why I just said he's not giving a lot, then saying he's giving too much. It was too much by the end of it. It was too cringy. Sorry, brother. Just, don't do the chicken and waffle song ever again. That's going to be paralyze my mind if I ever have to think about the season again. Next, we have Star, one of the more popular characters from this season, had started the updates page phase on X.com, aka what was formerly known as Twitter. I like Star, and her rapping, her last episode was great. She just was barely on the show, man. Like the pre-merge, she's like easily target out there, and then nobody wants to help her with the beware advantage. It's hard for me to rate Star. I'm gonna put her below Mary. She was a great personality, but it was really not fleshed out at all. We barely got to see her. One of the iconic moments of her walking, I just watched that moment today again, of her walking up to the booth and flings the pen accidentally. So I thought that was hilarious. But yeah, I mean, Star was a good personality. She brought good vibes, brought something different to the show. First ever person to do a rap on the show. Oh, not actually first ever person to do a rap on the show, but it was good when we had her. Just wasn't enough to really move her up this list. Next, we have Stephanie. People liked Stephanie. I didn't really care for Stephanie that much. Like, I'm gonna be honest, I don't really care for like the air, what's it called? Your signs. Like, I'm not really about that kind of vibe. Um, Someone put her here. She was out in a minute, played her shot in the dark. She knew what to do. She seemed like a lovely personality, but just on the show, like I remember nothing about her. And then all I remember is her talking about like, what's your sign, And I don't. No offense to people out there who care about signs and stuff, just not my thing. So that's where I'm gonna land. Stephanie, barely in the show, so she's not gonna be much higher. It's not like she's Jelinski first boot impact. I would expect to see her back on a first boot season though. Next we have Thomas. Thomas was my favorite person on this season. Look at this. Thomas and Bianca at the top. Thomas and Bianca supremacy. There's a world out there where Thomas, Bianca, and Shaheen run this game instead of Joe, Eva, and Shaheen. Unfortunately, got swap screwed, got out by Kyle. I'd expect Thomas to be one of the first people called back on a new season where they're like bringing back early pre-mergers. Um, I don't know, man. Thomas brought everything. I was excited for him. He was on my fantasy team. I noticed how my fantasy team's like impacting the rankings here. Um, but yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about Thomas. He was ready to play the game. He was going to bring a lot of energy. Like him and Bianca together was great energy right before they're swapped out. They're talking about the dice. Like that's an iconic moment. I thought there in the season of duos, this was my favorite duo. Gone way too soon in 5 episodes. So maybe one day Thomas will be back. Very interesting personality. Helps do music stuff with big writers and all that. So I thought we could have used a lot more Thomas in this season. Looking at this list overall now, I do need to adjust Chrissy. I think I'm going to put Chrissy at the bottom of A tier. I don't know why I kept her up there for so long, but besides that, I do like this list. So here we have the tier list. No one in D tier. I didn't hate anybody on this season that much. Some of these people in C tier I found annoying at times. Um, but here we go. So starting from the top, three favorite characters in the season: Thomas, Bianca, Camilla. I thought they all brought it, and interesting game players, personalities in that order. A tier, these people kind of made it farther in the game and still brought something interesting. Joe, obviously, the whole season's about Joe. Say was one of the more interesting characters that we've had on Survivor in a couple years. Mary, her rivalry with Say, Star in her moments was great. Chrissy in her moments was great. B tier, these people were just fine. David was good, but I think these people all had some cringy moments besides Kyle, who was just kind of boring, and Cedric, who was just kind of boring. So that's why they're more at the bottom of the list. But these three, David, Eva, and Shaheen, had some cringy moments. So that's why they had to go down to the B tier. Kyle and Cedric, like I just mentioned, a little bit less personality in my opinion. I know there's probably people out there who love them. Kyle's story was great, but we didn't really get that revealed till the end. So that's why they're in the B tier. Last tier, people that were just barely on the show, slash, not my favorite people. Justin, justice for Justin. Feel like there's ended out there where, we actually get to see what Justin's doing, but they just didn't care about him on the season. I will respect the Boston and the pizza stick though, so that's why he's at the top of C tier. Mitch was good early on in the season, but as the season droned on, him saying we need to make a move also droned on a lot. Stephanie didn't get much from her. Kevin didn't get much from him. Charity, just not my favorite person on the season. Least favorite, unfortunately. So that's really off Survivor 48 player tier list. What would you guys change? I'm excited to, every time I do one of these, well, I only have done these as a separate video one time. Got a lot of dislikes, so dislike it up, guys. Any interaction is positive interaction. Coming up in the Dubcast, I'll be on vacation, but I've got three great podcasts planned for you next week. We have You Season 5 and/or Season 2, and then The Deer Hunter movie review. So some good stuff in there. Stay tuned. Maybe we'll do a Survivor 50 cast reveal. I'm unfortunately gonna be on a boat. I'm gonna have to wake up at 7 a.m. to try and find the CBS channel if it's there. If not, I'm gonna just not know the season 50 cast. I'm gonna be out in the middle of the ocean and have no idea who's on Survivor 50. What the fuck? But yeah, it's been a blast watching Survivor 48. Not really, but it happened. So we'll be back for Survivor 49. Appreciate you guys for watching. Make sure to subscribe, like, comment, dislike, follow on Instagram, whatever. And as always, be easy, y'all.